Welcome to the Tailosive Talks podcast, episode 41, and we're doing something a little bit different today because we have a rare occasion for the Erickson family. All the siblings are back together, so you guys know me, Andrew Erickson, and this is
Abby Jarvis.
Oh, that's right.
Formerly Erickson.
That's right. I keep forgetting that. When you're married, you have to rearrange. And then Emily, introduce yourself.
Emily Erickson.
Thanks. So yeah,
You might know me from Bluetooth headphones.
That's right. The Bluetooth headphone review on the Tech Channel a long time ago. I don't think Abby's been on anything Tailosive for a long time, if at all. But we just figured since she's back in town and Emily may or may not be in the area, we don't know. It's lots of possibilities. So we just figured, hey, we're all here together. We got some time. And if this is different and unique, then great. And if you hate it, then don't worry about it. It's a one-time thing. It's not something to worry about. So I just thought we could talk first about like us all growing up together, all in that house, and how when I referred to people saying the green walls in the attic, that was you.
Yes. I may not have been personally on Tailosive Tech before, but I have been with you the entire time in my green walls.
Yes, and I was thinking about that room a lot because that's who originally was the owner, and me and Emily know very well, like back in the day, back in elementary school, middle school, we just could never go in there. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
How it was like, this is my room, I have the door, and you have no reason to come back here, whereas our house was kind of built bizarrely because it was my room and then your room and then Abby's room.
Yeah, well, I purposely picked that room so that nobody had to walk through it.
Right. Their rooms are just continuous. You don't have a hallway. It's just door, room, door, room.
And we had the ranking of I have the least amount of privacy because both of you had to go through my room. Emily had a little bit more because Abby could go through, but not me. I didn't really have a reason to. But I was thinking maybe the reason when you graduated and you moved out, I wanted to go to the attic was just because I was like, I never get to go in here. Now I can. This is all mine. So yeah, I was thinking maybe that's why also the privacy thing and the recording.
But you pay for it in no insulation, no air conditioning, no heating.
Well, and we should
it's
clarify,
literally the most
too.
Miserable room in the house.
We should clarify, too, it wasn't because she didn't want to be around us or because she hated us, but because she did like to keep things pretty neat and clean.
That's true.
And it was also, she was the oldest and she wanted time to herself, too.
Yeah.
So
that's so
it
kind.
Wasn't,
it
wasn't that it was like Elsa and Anna, let me in! No, I'll kill you.
Right. And it was always kind of the like, if Abby's out, let's sneak in there real quick.
What? We never touched anything, we just looked around.
Yeah. Everything we broke,
we could... gallery.
Yeah. Everything we broke, we could glue back together very carefully.
You still don't know about anything, no.
I did, before it was my room, it was the playroom, though, so I did kind of commandeer the playroom.
Yeah, it used to be just white walls and just junk and some toys.
And anytime someone came in through the garage, you got a wake-up call, because...
Yep. I know, we were just in there last night.
Yeah.
Because we were putting my baby down to bed, and...
The garage.
Yeah, and the garage door opened, and like the whole room kind of vibrates and makes this huge noise. And my husband's like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "That's just the garage door." And he's like,
"You live with that?"
Like I didn't even bat an eye, and he was like, thought the world like we were under attack.
Closest we get to city living, there goes the subway.
Yep. And one of the main reasons I moved out in the first place was because when Emily moved back home, I was live streaming late and recording late into the night, and she's like, I have school in the morning.
Right.
Why are you talking so loud?
He was on nocturnal hours for YouTubing and doing lots of things in the middle of the night. I was on mom and dad's / teacher clock, where you gotta wake up at like 6 or 5:30 to do things before going to school. So it wasn't
So all those old
working.
tech streams you guys remember was at the cost of Emily's sleep. So that was...
I probably also escalated your process into doing studio stuff, too.
That's true.
Because I was one of the factors that made you want to
Yeah.
So you're welcome.
There were more than that alone to move out.
Right.
There was also no Wi-Fi at the house, which was becoming and there still isn't. Yeah, that was becoming an increasing issue. But yeah, there was lots of reasons, but you helped with that. So thank you for being upfront about your sleep schedule.
Yeah.
And I was also thinking it must be like bizarre for you to now be a mother and be setting down your child in the room that you used to grow up in. Is that kind of surreal? Or is that just kind of, you take it?
I think the longer I'm from having had moved out, the more I come back, the more it's just, everything is more bizarre.
Yeah. I'm starting to notice that too, because we've all basically lived in that house our whole lives. Especially me, because when we moved in, I was, I think, 2 months old when we moved into that house. So now every time I go back there, it's all familiar, but it's different because I'm getting more used to my apartment and here in the office. And when we go back there, I just see like, oh yeah, of course I know where this, but wait, the fan's different now, or they got new toilets, or they got new things. And
it's like a big deal. We got new toilets.
Yeah.
It's like, why didn't I know the exact moment this happened? Why didn't I have to like?
You don't get time to adjust anymore.
Right, and you just kind of show up, and it's that childhood resurgence a little bit.
I noticed I'm really sensitive to the smells.
Yeah.
It's like as soon as you walk in, you're like, takes me back to 3rd grade. Like all the scents. The scents are frozen in time.
Right.
And it's like carpet smell or like...
Yeah, they're not bad smells.
Cooler smells.
No,
it's
they're just
how
signature.
They smell. And you never notice it when you're living somewhere, but as soon as you move away...
Right.
And you gain a new...
It's
scent.
like that feeling you have...
change laundry detergents. That's usually enough. And it's like, suddenly everything smells different.
And it's like... Almost like you never left as soon as you get there.
Oh,
it's like not much time has really gone by because all this is still here. And yet so many big parts in life have gone by. Yeah. I think it's interesting that, especially this time because you guys are visiting for the week, that we're all together in that house again. I'm just kind of, it's surreal because I come back here and I'm like, oh, this is real too. But then that also existed. But getting into the script here, which we probably should.
Enough about depression.
I was going to ask because, Toy Story 3 moment, exactly. We all have, kind of in our own ways, have had movie filmmaker kind of parts of our lives. Abby probably more because you went to film school and professional editing, and you still do. Emily less so, but you've still had projects where you made movies and we made movies in the old days together. I was thinking back, I don't think there's any evidence of this on the internet, but me and Emily used to like literally film with your American Girl dolls and the
We had a
toy
whole
dogs.
sitcom. What?
Right.
We did.
It had like 14 seasons.
We
and...
did. No, but anytime we were, because
do you remember what it was
called? We
called?
were kind of getting on the verge of being a little too old to be playing with toys that much anymore, so we called it "Let's Make a Movie" and use
this is
these.
Okay to play now.
Because then it's like, we're doing something that's really actually very hard to do. We have to
this
make
takes
sure
editing.
we do use this machine. And
but yeah, back then we had the VHS camera
over the shoulder.
Oh, it slide it in, and you have to rewind and record.
No screen, you just had to use the eyepiece.
Right, no screen, and we were just filming whatever we could think of. I don't think we had a script.
Never.
We
did have
just
a theme
would talk
song
in front of the camera.
We had a theme song. We had like 4 different dolls, and then we had like 14 dogs. Because you wanted to be the dogs.
I had a voice for every
dog.
dog.
Not the baby dolls or anything. But
I
you'd
think
be
I
the
can
animals.
slightly remember some of them, like Caro, Camo.
Yeah. I can remember all of them.
We started naming them after people we knew. It was like Annie and Toby.
This dog is my dad.
Oh my God.
And that was just kind of how it started. But then I was also thinking you, Abby, kind of set the path that both me and Emily followed.
Blazed
the trail for what we did with, the schools you went to, we went to, and you were into band, and then we went into band. And I was wondering can you recall what was kind of the main reason you wanted to go into film and start editing stuff? What kind of sparked that for the new people who haven't known this trilogy.
Yeah. Well, I think because the first time I ever attempted something was in 5th grade for, I made the original Heartland.
Oh, wow.
Not the Netflix
show, although it's really good. But we had a book report, and someone said they'd made a movie. Like in the past, the teacher said someone made a movie because you could do any sort of art project.
Okay. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I could make a movie because that was just when we'd gotten our first iMac.
Right.
The clear blue background. I don't know what the official term is for that model.
Yeah, that was the first iMac ever.
But Dad was making the video Christmas cards.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
And we were make a video of vacation. Yeah. And so I would always just watch him do that because I liked just watching the raw footage of us playing around. So I would just sit there and watch him. And so I told Dad, I'm like, Dad, the teacher said we could make a movie for a book report. He's like, you're doing it. Because I'm
doing it.
Well, no, he gave us it's really a simple process. It's like you put, here's if you want the beginning of the clip here and the end of the clip here, and then you drag it to the timeline. Yeah. It was non-linear editing still, but it was iMovie was simple enough that
that was kind of a new thing at that time, that anyone could just start editing their own stuff. Yeah, that was new. Yeah,
yeah, and so we would, so we filmed it. I remember I think what really bit me about it, like I got the bug from it, was that all of the seniors, I'm a 5th grader, and all of these seniors from our church were willing to help me. Right. So it's like all of these high school kids wanted to hang out with me.
Let's do it.
And I was like, this is the best thing ever. And so I think Mom and Dad left and babysat you two while all the seniors came over and we filmed Heartland. And it was the best night of my life. Yeah. I was just like, all of these high schoolers are at our house.
So professional.
And we're making a movie. And so we played it.
You always kind of, me and Em called you the third parent. Yes. You always, the older than your age. Because you liked blending in with that crowd.
It's the first child curse.
Right. Wouldn't you tell Mom and Dad, are the kids coming with us?
Yeah, are the kids. The kids are coming. I know. I think Dave Ramsey said something about his oldest doing that. I'm like, I get you, sister.
Yeah.
Right.
They're the same order as us, too. It's girl, girl, boy.
Oh,
really?
So I feel like they're all our alternate personalities.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, too, because our mom is in the same boat. Mm-hmm. Grandma had
She's in your position.
girl, boy.
Was my position.
Right. More of an age difference with her, though. If those of you who don't know, we're all exactly or approximately 3 years apart.
Yeah.
So
I'm 3.5 years from you, and you're 2.5 years.
Oh, okay, so we're a little closer.
But 3 grades apart. All of us are 3 grades apart.
So you guys both had high school together for 1 year, and then I had high school with Emily for 1 year. Yeah. And then we were on our own. But
enough space, but close enough to we were still all pretty close.
Yeah.
And we kept each other from getting beat up. Sometimes you'd protect me and I'd protect you.
I'm trying to think about what you're referring to.
Right.
Beat up from being scared.
Like emotionally beat up.
Yeah, emotionally beat up.
I was like, did I ever run in and shoot hands off my sister?
And we all took turns driving what you guys may know from the main channel, Stu the Talking Truck.
Mm-hmm. But which was not always the name.
Was not always Stu. Yeah. That changed a lot.
You rechristened him.
Used to be a girl.
Bottle.
Oh yeah, it was a girl. It was
I
right
had to
after
change
Wicked
that.
Came out.
Of course.
Yeah.
I had to change that because it was filled with trash anyway, so it was converted into a whole different car in the first place.
And but the whistling truck.
The whistling was the
people
iconic
knew when we
part
were
of it.
coming by their house, they'd be like, "We heard you drive by last night."
I didn't realize how much we got teased for that at school.
Everyone knew the whistling truck.
I didn't really care. I was like, I was in my own world for most of school. Like, I realize I'm probably not well liked, but I don't care.
Right. A little different. But I was remembering, and I think we still have these, but in middle school you did from what I recall, and this is, I think, what was starting to inspire me. When you were in middle school, I think I was old enough to start understanding how you guys were filming stuff and editing it, was your 7th grade, you did that Extreme Makeover Classroom Edition. Which was, you got the teachers in on it, and you got, they're like, we're going to renovate this teacher's classroom. And it was all, you know, mockumentary, of course. Not actual renovation was happening. But you still were able to, like, find footage of someone's house being built and incorporate that in. And I was curious, because you're here now, I was like, what kind of sparked that? Was that part of a classroom assignment, or was that just kind of, you know what, I want to make something, so I'll just make it?
It started from an actual desire to want to remodel a teacher's classroom.
Okay.
Because we had a teacher who was not very organized.
Okay.
I don't think he'd mind me saying that, but I won't mention his name.
But again, you had a passion for interior design.
Yes, and I was very clean. I was very clean, and I was very organized, and the Extreme Makeover Home Edition was playing
really popular.
Really popular.
Yeah.
And I went into this classroom, and I would get my work done early because it was kind of a more self-driven. Just do your homework in class, and so I asked him if I could organize his classroom.
Like, can I fix all this?
And I was like, you need help.
This is an intervention.
And he said, sure, go ahead. So I would go into his classroom.
Because I had him too, and he was definitely that kind of teacher.
I would go into his classroom, and I just started making, like, organizational bins and stuff. And then I started thinking, I was like, oh, you know what would be funny is if I kind of blew this out of proportion for
Turned it into
a show and our school. And this is probably one of the more official times that I started getting interested in film, was the whole KCTV.
Right. We had the...
It was gifted and talented class.
Okay.
So all of the kids that were pretty well, okay, they pretty much all of the people pleasers ended up in one class where they would put you, if you had a really high, like, I guess, performance in elementary
there was
school.
An IQ test.
Some kind of test you passed, and you get into GATE, and then from there they would do little news programs. So they would show you how to work a camera and how to edit, and
it was an everyday thing for you guys,
and broadcast every day to the whole school.
Was for me too.
Announcements.
Yeah. So we would, and then on Fridays we would do an extended program. So it was instead of just reading the bulletin and doing the Pledge of Allegiance, we would do. They were doing, like, classroom highlights and specials. Yeah. And I kind of took that and ran with it and said, what if we did an ongoing episodic fun series that was more comical. And so I started making the Extreme Makeover thing.
Okay.
And then,
so it was kind of like a cutaway, like, here's what's for lunch, here's what's happening. And then now back
for our
on
special.
Extreme. See, we kept that show alive, sadly, because you guys did it, and you did it when you were in Central, and it was a daily thing, and I did it, and me and Ross and what was starting to become the Tailosive gang also worked on that. And then now it's gone. It's sadly. I
think the teacher retired. That was probably
it was a lot
of it.
It was a lot of upkeep too. Like
the teacher I had for it is still there, and I visited her a couple weeks ago because I was like, hey, things are going really great, and I just wanted you to know you were a good teacher to me. But sadly, it wasn't.
Nice of you.
Yeah, it wasn't happening anymore. I guess they couldn't keep it running.
She was like, that's great, we quit.
Well, I heard after we left for a while, it was all shot and edited on an iPad.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It was a lot more work back then. Well,
you had a videographer.
It was
job.
a tape.
You had a script
It wasn't digital,
job.
right?
Yeah,
you had all these different.
The tape deck.
You had to export and import. Like, you had all these steps.
And in the 8th grade, you did the new one, which was CSI. That was the big one. And I'm proud to announce that you guys had the tripod that you named Strudel for CSI, and we're still using it to this day.
Worked. They made them good back then.
Yeah.
Actually, that was probably old when we were using it.
They don't make them like this
It's called a Samson.
It's
not Samsung,
sure is.
but Samsung.
Not Samsung. Right, and it's all the knobs are busted, but it's very secure and still works, and we still use it to this day. But I just thought the origins live on, and Strudel continues to live on. But The CSI one was cool because we would start picking you up from Central, and I would walk in, and I would see your friends that are in the movie.
Yeah.
And I'd be like,
they're celebrities to us.
well, that's our whole world. Is just like, oh, they go to this big kids school and they make movies there, and I want to see these stars.
Everyone laughs at them.
CSI was
They're
Central
so
School
funny.
Investigation.
Yeah.
Right. It was
And that was also a big show at the time. Do they
Right.
still have CSI? It's like CSI
I
Miami.
think so.
and
Yeah, there's some kind of. I've
Yeah.
never followed it, but whenever I thought of CSI, I only knew yours. So anytime I saw on TV like CSI is coming out, I was like, no, it's not. Abby's not doing that.
Well, and it was also really cool to use. I was just so into, because we weren't allowed to watch all these movies, but you could play the soundtrack to like
Right, National
the
Treasure,
Matrix.
The
Oh, we could
Matrix.
watch National Treasure, I guess, but the
Yeah.
Matrix and all of these like super cool films that
Right.
were rated R that we couldn't watch, but I could play the soundtrack, so it's kind
Right.
of sounded like I had seen the movie.
And this was pre-YouTube. This was just us making it because you were going to show it, and also we just me and Emily would just watch it.
You entered those into some festivals, didn't you?
Yeah, it won a festival.
You won something.
A student festival.
Yeah.
Of some
Yeah.
sort.
That was
That's
really
pretty
cool.
cool.
But I recall me and Emily just watching it like it was a show. It wasn't a school thing. We were just like, what happens next? And
I
fun.
would take them out even after you were out of middle school and still watch them again because I was like, oh,
They were pretty funny.
we were
They're
in
good.
them. That was the big
that's
exciting
right.
part. We had little
I don't
cameos.
think I was.
Didn't you? We bothered Austin.
That was Rachel Coffer.
Oh, okay,
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, Ross from old Tailosive Day, his older brother was the same age as Abby,
older.
and he was kind of the bad spy
was
guy
one of the
running
bad
around.
guys.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to bother him while he was in a car.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm in the show. Oh my god. So that definitely kind of got the ball rolling for the movies in the family.
Cool.
And since then, I know Emily's made half dozen school gigs.
It was an automatic A if you made a video.
Well,
book
and
report.
I think also you helped us out a little bit because once you did that, everyone else wanted to do it. And so the fact that we were related to you, they were like, oh, it's going to be good. They're an Erickson.
They would always say that because the
Yeah.
teachers would remember us. They were like,
oh, you're
Abby's
sibling,
little
so
boy.
You're probably going to make some movies,
Little sister,
aren't
little
you?
brother. Sorry.
Little brother, little sister. You're probably going to make some really cool stuff, aren't you? And we're like, yeah, probably.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
probably.
expected, so yeah. But we liked it too.
I remember in high school even our English teacher we all had would just kind of say this is the final project coming up, and if you're gonna do a movie, like Drew, of course, like it wasn't a question. I hadn't even decided. And at that point in high school, I was starting to do the YouTube stuff, and I actually got to the point where I was like, I don't think I want to do a video for school
I know, I'm
because
tired.
I'm always doing videos. So
You do a painting.
it ended up not mattering because everyone just came to me and said, so Drew, what are we doing? What's the movie? And I didn't want to.
Make us famous.
So basically I was just like, okay, we'll make a little short. And we got the DSLR that you, or your friend sold me. The first camera, we shot the hide and seek, the first feature film that you should never watch. The DSLR, that was because you were like, you had a friend who was getting
he was
rid of
going
it?
into the military and he needed to sell stuff, and so he
Yeah.
sold his.
That's so. Yeah, you kind of blazed the trail that both me and Emily followed, and I guess here we are. I took it too seriously. I just kept going.
Hey,
I
you
love
made
it.
money off of it. That's
I know.
why.
Not
that
very
is-
quickly, but
to do it at all is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
that brings me to a relevant question, which was you guys were around when I first started doing the YouTube stuff, because actually, Abby, you uploading stuff to YouTube, you were the one who kind of, I don't know if you remember, but you taught me how that worked.
I did.
Yeah, because I was like, how do you get it on the internet where anyone can watch it? And you were like, there's a button that says upload. It's that simple. And then I went from there, and it's like, so you make this account.
We weren't
and you
really
start...
allowed to do much YouTube before that.
And
We could barely watch a YouTube
It wouldn't
video.
download. We
didn't
spent a
have the
whole
internet.
day
I
waiting
remember-
for the Prince Caspian trailer
Yeah.
to load.
It would
We
be
were like, we're gonna watch it tonight.
we're gonna
And then we got
open the
halfway
link.
through and it buffered. And we were like, maybe tomorrow we'll finish.
It took 8 hours to load a 2-minute video.
Yeah.
And like,
Out in the boonies.
I
where-
remember watching the trailer and letting a second load at a time, and we were on the phone with our cousins in LA talking about what's happened. And we were like, how much is loaded for you? And then we play,
YouTube was so
there's
amazing.
another shot. And then we would hear the next shot on the phone, and we'd be like, don't play that yet. We haven't got there. We're at 36 seconds.
Wait for us.
So that's why I always tell people wherever I live is dependent on the internet speed.
Yeah, you could live in a closet if it had good...
The internet speed and the hot water heater capacity.
That's true. That is kind of important. You guys both taught me.
I have an extra large hot water heater in my house.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons we bought the house was like, I won't run out of hot water.
Right.
Sold.
Right.
Yeah, sorry.
You kind of taught me how long a sister shower is. And then when you guys moved out, Dad taught me what a regular guy shower is, which is like, you spent 10 minutes in there? And I was like, it used to be like a 3-hour process.
She used to stand in there and go, well, what else do I... I mean, I'm supposed to stay in here for an hour, so...
Because we all had to share the bathroom, so when you guys would go in, I would just kind of be like, oh, they're in there for the next... That's today's task, waiting for them to be... It's like if it happens in the morning.
It's all this hair.
Right.
All this hair.
You think we look this good naturally?
The hair wasn't always this short.
There's a lot of work that's got to go into all this.
Yeah.
They spend their time, and that's how my hands look like this. No, I'm kidding.
No,
I'm kidding.
don't.
I'm joking. It runs in it's genetic. It's dead. It's okay. But when I first started doing the YouTube stuff, and it wasn't going anywhere, it was just, Drew's getting his friends together.
They were fun to watch.
Did you think it was going somewhere, though? Or did you see it as, he just found a new thing?
I thought, because anything that you were into 1,000%.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
you
true.
could not think or talk about anything else other than the one thing you were doing. And so when...
But the thing would change.
But
Yeah.
It was cars, it was trains, it was
Dinosaurs.
Planes. For a long time, we thought you wanted to fly planes. We
I
thought
did.
that was actually gonna...
Yep.
I wanted to be a fighter pilot in late elementary school.
F-35s.
Yeah, you still remember.
F-35s.
I wanted to fly those.
And so when it became film, I was like, almost immediately, I was like, he's already more committed than most of the kids in my film school.
Yeah.
Because it was just eat,
Once
sleep,
he gets a hold of that information.
Yeah. Because, I mean, it was just, your hobbies were just getting more and more advanced.
Yeah.
Right.
And so when it became this, I wasn't, because I was in college, I'm pretty sure I was in college when you started doing Tailosive.
You were at least looking at film schools
Yeah.
at the time that I started to want to brand myself with my own channel. And
So I remember watching them mostly online, and first of all thinking, who the heck is this? Because your personality was so different than what I'd grown up with. And
I changed a lot on camera.
I love it because I love seeing that other side of you. But I would just watch him to be like, this is a whole nother side of my brother I've never seen before.
Yeah. I think it just got really good because you practiced so much. And you were always really witty and funny. Like, you constantly just wanted to make people laugh all the time. And that was, like, addicting to you. And then you wouldn't shut up and you just wanted to keep saying more funny things. It's probably like, okay,
it probably can be originated back to when he was a shepherd in the Nativity play.
That's right. I played a shepherd.
Stole the show.
Because I was dancing or something.
And then the camel rap you did.
The camel rap.
Yeah. We do have video of that.
Yeah.
That's true. That might make its way online someday. It's just me in a camel costume dancing.
You liked
sunglasses.
being the reason that people were really just laughing and liked it.
I feel it's the mark of a true entertainer.
Yeah.
When
like from a young age, you wanted to be a crowd pleaser.
Yeah. Well, and you could, because you turned it on. It wasn't something that you were just
that
like way all the time. But it was just like, I need to entertain people? Okay. And then you just suddenly became super entertaining.
And then practicing with these videos, I think, caused you to kind of condense it and put it into like something that followed what you were trying to say.
It was almost like shock therapy. As in by editing it, I just constantly was like, okay, this isn't good. I don't like this. Okay, let's try something. I like that. Let's do more of that. But I don't like this type.
Oh, and probably through editing yourself, you learned how to make it easier on yourself by editing in your head in real time.
The editing was like, okay, now I know as an editor what I need the talent to do.
Right.
Which I would try to explain to people because I had friends who went to Biola as well. And I was like, how do we do this here? And I was trying to tell them how, well, being a actor and a cameraman lets me know what directors need from actors.
Yeah. Yep.
Because as an editor, I'm constantly knowing, like, if someone's talking too quietly, if someone's not expressing something correctly, I can call that out. And usually my friends would be like, what are you talking about? That's not how it works. It's like that they're totally different fields. And I was like, no, by being an editor, you learn how to act almost in a way, because you know how to appear on screen and how to be interesting.
Yeah.
So
and that's why I got involved in editing.
Yeah.
Because everybody wants to be a director. That's
the go-to.
That's always the goal. But Dad said, if you want to be a director, you need to learn a skill. And there's so many kids that just want to be a director, and I just want to make a movie. But in order to,
they don't understand what they're asking.
Yeah, they don't know what they're asking, and they don't know, and you don't just graduate from film school or something, and someone's like, okay, direct this movie.
We need a director.
Yeah,
someone show up. Yeah, right.
It's always become an edit. You need to learn a skill, and being a director is a skill, but it's more of a fluid artistic skill. Whereas an editor, a cameraman, a lighting person, an audio editor,
and it's a step up system. Yeah. You have to start somewhere and then make your way up.
George Lucas, Steven Spielberg, they all started as editors,
right?
And then they worked their way
up.
But what I was gonna say too about you starting so early with the film stuff, there's the whole 10,000 hour rule thing.
Yeah,
have you heard of that? So the Beatles and hockey players, the book Malcolm Gladwell has, or the book Malcolm Gladwell
Mastering
on outliers. You master something by spending 10,000 hours doing it.
Oh yeah,
right.
And you probably have hit that.
Maybe, yeah.
You may very well have hit that because
I heard it was more than that. Maybe it is 10,000 though. I don't know.
That's what piano teachers told us.
To be truly excellent at something, you need to have 10,000 committed hours of doing it.
Yeah.
And so by this point, how many thousands of hours you've put into something, you just have to be pretty good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter how bad you were at something, if you spend 10,000 hours doing it,
right. It can be down to a science at that point. My friends would always say in high school, because sometimes we'd be working on a project in class, because I found ways to do that, and someone would walk in and be like, where did you learn how to do all this? And my friend would always say, by continuously being bad at it.
Yep.
We're just really bad at it for a long time.
Yeah.
Which is why whenever people are talking about, like, I want to start my own channel or I want to get into making videos, I'm always like, make them. Don't wait for equipment. Don't wait for free time. Yeah. Don't wait for the right people to show up.
Yeah.
It's because it's like, well, I don't like the way my voice sounds or the way I look on camera. That's great because no one does. So if you just introduce that at an early time and you edit that and you look at yourself and how you appear on screen, it changes you. Because especially going back and looking at what I used to act like on camera compared to now, is totally different people almost. Yeah. Just because back then I was just, I sound like that? Oh, I look like that? And now I'm so self-conscious. I hear in my head the voice that's in recording. So they've all merged together now. But I always tell people, like, don't think you're going to make good stuff at first. Probably it'll take years before you make anything you're probably proud of. Like, I just always trying to make something better than the last one. Right. And that's all we're doing now is making slightly better junk. We're making it's progressively getting a little better. But yeah. So I was just curious if when you saw me at that young age you were like, "Oh, that's going somewhere," or was it just, "Oh boy, Drew found a new obsession"?
I could say I didn't think too far into the future, but I can't say at the time I'm like, probably no one's going to watch that one. But if he keeps going, some people will watch it. I didn't know it would go that far. Like, you're closing in on 90,000-ish.
Right.
You're getting there.
Yeah.
Like, never would have jumped to that in my brain.
Well, the whole idea of a viral channel didn't really exist when you start. Well, at least when you started the shorts, the Saturday shorts.
Right.
That was just, I mean, there were some viral videos, you know, like
one video.
Yeah, but it
something
wasn't,
would get big.
It wasn't like, I didn't even really understand what a channel was at that. I mean, you had a channel, but that was mostly just your account.
Username, yeah.
Yeah, your
it was
account.
just your name, right.
But, so there wasn't, YouTube celebrities were definitely not a thing. People weren't making vlogs or anything like that. And so I don't think you didn't, there wasn't a category for what you were trying to do back then. But then you've kind of risen up with the category that, I mean, it's YouTube celebrities have only recently become a thing at all. And so,
like the last 10 years, it's become modern and normal now.
Yeah. So for you to have followers was just a weird concept.
Right. It's like, how does that even work?
I mean,
we
I like watching him, but he's my brother.
Yeah.
What are all these people that don't know him watching him?
Why would they
As
bother?
you started growing too, I remember when I was in like middle school and high school, I had some YouTube channels that I was starting to favor. And I was like, oh, like I watched like Mika Kitty and Nanaloo. I don't know.
Yeah.
Your audience probably doesn't watch the kind of things I watch.
Probably not.
Anyway, I'll mention them. But they weren't huge channels, but I watched them and I liked them, and I like watched every time they uploaded.
Yeah.
And then your numbers started to grow, and I was like, oh. And it wasn't anymore just my brother does some YouTube. It was like, my brother's a YouTuber, and now he's right here, and people I watch are right here, and now he's right here. And there's some channels that you passed up now. Right. And so that kind of just made it more real for me as you were growing. I was like, oh, he's a YouTuber now. My brother's a YouTuber. And that was like a label to it that I wasn't ready for.
Raised to that position. And one thing I thought we might lightly touch on was I originally wanted to go to film school. And I wanted to go to the same one you were going to, because I was like, gosh, she's going into film, she's doing internships and learning all that kind of stuff. I want to go that route. And I started to, and then you were getting less interested in in that field, not the editing process, but just that environment, the Hollywood track. Yeah. And that's kind of what you and your husband's decision, because you met there. That decision is kind of what made me decide maybe film school isn't the right track. And from what I can tell, you guys were all in support of that. Just kind of saying like, you don't have to go.
Right. Well, you were already learning the things that I was learning in film school, and you were learning it all for free. Or on your own time, in your own way, in your own style. And I mean, you were putting out way more content than the kids that I was going to school with, because they were getting bogged down by the actual systematic assignments to it. And I think, and what I think I remember telling you from the beginning, film school is there's a place for it for some kids that need to have the external motivation to learn how to do all of this.
Okay.
Whereas you had a total internal motivation. It was, you were completely self-driven. And I think college in general, for internal motivators, you can learn everything that you learn in college if you have the discipline to be self-driven to learn all that. And you just have an eerie self-drive that I don't understand, because I'm like, if nobody's telling me to do something over and over again,
I needed the structure of school. I needed the structure,
Like, I also needed interesting how different we were about that.
I also needed it for my career choice. You didn't need it for your career choice. No. I needed it because I work best into structure. You work best with no structure, and it's only me doing what I want to do. And maybe I'll ask somebody if they know more than me, but usually I can figure it out by myself.
Right. And I took a couple film and web design classes at Butte College.
And they were
and I was just kind of like, this is Ed? It's like,
I can't do 4 years of this.
Yeah, it's like, even if there's a slightly more professional version of this, I would still be upset because
and it's keeping you from getting to actually do the hands-on stuff that you were doing.
Right. And I was wanting to go more the route of, if I do the film school route, I'm making someone else's vision.
Right.
Whereas if I do it my way, I may not have all the resources or the connections. Like there are benefits, like being in a community where people are all have similar goals. You meet people that you work with there, and you're married because of people that you network there.
It's great way to find a spouse.
Right. That's what a lot of people do. And for me, though, it was like, well, I could go that route, or I could go the route of, I can be in complete control of whatever I'm making. If I don't want to make that, I don't have to. If I do want to make this, I can. So that's, I think, what the freelance route was more interesting to me, and was tricky because both of you went straight into college right after high school. And I was kind of going, oh, I might just work. I don't know if I want to do that. So it was kind of a new idea at the family, but it was probably convincing for me to be like, hey, Mom and Dad, what if we just didn't put me through college? That could save some money. Because I was like,
well, yeah. And we all know you to be very self-motivated and very, like, you were not content to laze around. You can have lazy tendencies, like all of us, like anybody.
Right.
But you don't turn into a lazy person.
And that makes me wonder, I flip the question back to you, I guess we're kind of talking about this, but what made you not want to go that route? Was it the structure thing, just that you want someone to be like above and saying what to do next, or you need more direction?
What made us not want to not go to college?
No, what made you want to not do the YouTube kind of style when it came to like the film or you've even talked about teaching kind of channels and stuff.
Oh yeah, there were times when I thought, oh, what if I did like a YouTube channel where I'm a teacher, and sometimes I could vlog different activities I come up with, or vlog or it could even be inside the classroom where all my kids are subscribed, and I can give them an assignment via YouTube channel. You
could even do live streams.
Yeah, and I thought that was a cool idea for a few minutes, and then I went, oh. Remember how tired you get when you're teaching, and how exhausting, and how you throw your entire person and soul into it? Yeah, you're not going to want to be editing while you're doing that. But there are teacher YouTubers.
Oh,
I've seen them, and they're amazing, but they look insane. They talk like they're like, and I'm like, maybe if I had an editor to do it for me and I just had to film, it would be more doable, but until I get into a real good rhythm of teaching, I don't want to consider that anymore. But I think what made me, like, because I had a YouTube channel.
We've all had some.
I feel like everyone's tried to upload something, at least one thing.
Right.
But I have learned that I cannot handle like the possibility that someone watches it and doesn't like it, or if someone watches it and leaves a mean comments are so hard for me. I'm trying to get better at stuff like that. Like in real life, you can just be like, well, that's your opinion, da da da. When it's like written Faceless. There, it's like they're slapping a name tag on you, or
and
they're
it's public.
Throwing something at you.
It's public, and you can't do anything about it.
Right. And other people are gonna read that and go, yeah, they're right, you are weird. And so like with you, I can't look at comments at all.
Like, I can't, but I do.
I can't.
It's like walking away from a car wreck. It's like not watching you. Just like, I can't. Don't read them.
It'll be 100 beautiful, very nice, sweet comments.
Oh, yeah.
People saying, "You're great, Drew. Love this," or "That was so funny," or they'll say jokes and they'll be funny, and I'll love it. And I'll come to one comment of some idiot who just had to say something like dumb and irrelevant and stupid, and I'll just I flagged some people before.
Oh no!
I'm sorry, but
she's the
I
Tailosive
felt like
flagger.
something must be done.
I've
only done that twice.
Penalty.
This is why we
I've only
can't
done
give
that
you
twice.
moderator powers.
No.
Because you just ban everyone.
And I've told mom to do the same thing because she'll tell you.
Right.
She'll be like, Drew, somebody
Did
said
you see
that
what they
your
were
hair
saying?
looks bad, so you should cut your hair because then the people will love you more. And I'm like, whoa!
There are fewer.
Mom, don't look.
Yeah, it's fascinating how, and I think you guys have that problem of like, how could they say that? And I think that's what made you better students, both through college and through high school, is that a lot of it, I think, you could correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of it was like, I don't want to disappoint the teacher.
No, yeah.
Because the teacher is expecting me to do this.
Yeah.
So we need to
that.
we need to fulfill them.
We're people
And
pleasers.
I guess
to fulfill this teacher.
well, our parents were teachers, so we could
yeah.
relate to it and be like, we don't want to disappoint them. They're expecting us to be good. And I guess I had that for a while, but as we got into middle and high school, I started going,
Just letting it go.
it's just their job. They're getting paid. Whether or not I do it, they get paid the same.
I just wanted things to be harmonious. Like, I wanted the teacher's expectations of what a student is to be met, and I wanted the student expectations of class to be met. And I just wanted everyone to have a good day. And so any bad
I just
comments
wanted
would
to
just
win.
make me feel like,
this is a
this
game.
is not harmonious.
School was the Hunger Games for me. It was like, slaughter everyone else. Win.
And it's Battle Royale. There's one winner.
How do I win school?
And for me, it was, how can I get through this while also fulfilling
Doing what I
my
want.
own goals as easy as possible? So especially my 1 year at Butte was like, when the teacher would be like, you didn't fill this out, this test didn't work out, and I'd be like, we can move on now. I didn't do it. I'm not worried. Let's move to the next topic. And then they would try to like confront me about it.
You're
and
not
get
going to
into
play
the,
my game?
yeah, you're not playing the game. And I'd be
Yeah.
like, I know. I'm not interested. Thanks. I'm here because I have to be, basically. And that's why it ultimately ended up not working out. But yeah, and I think that mindset, while resulting in being a worser student, made it a better
worser
YouTuber.
student.
That's the prime example of how I'm a worse student. Is
student.
worse. What is it?
I'm sorry.
I don't
Worse
even
student?
know what it is. Is it more
What was
worse?
the sentence?
A worser student.
Well,
being
that
a
made
worse-
me a worse student. Does that sound better?
I don't know how
I
you'd
don't
say
know.
it. Worser?
You gotta know these.
Elementary
Worse.
school. I'm allowed to let them talk like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You, however.
However, it allowed me to be a better YouTuber because
Yeah.
I could handle the negative feedback. Because anytime
It's
someone
true.
would say the negative things, I'd be like,
Thick skin.
yeah, right.
Yeah. I think I have one video on YouTube still.
Oh, really?
The trailer for every Christian movie ever.
Oh, right.
I loved
They're
that.
all the same.
And that has a lot of mean comments on it.
Oh.
Yeah. Both from people who don't like Christian movies to people who like Christian movies to people who, I don't know, are just dumb.
I mean, there's all sides of the
Yeah.
spectrum there.
I like that movie.
But yeah.
Video.
And I think for me, I gravitated towards editing in general because it wasn't upfront and obvious, and I didn't have my name all over it, and I didn't have to be seen or be on camera.
Right, they can't make fun of you personally.
Right.
And you could see it come together and be in control of how it
creating
comes
order
together.
out of disorder
Yeah.
was
Right.
great. But like the movies I make now, I don't even have credits on because they're made for other bloggers or other YouTubers,
Right.
and they don't. Part of the deal is that I don't have. It's their movie. They don't have.
And you're fine with that.
And I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
If they pay me, I'm fine with that.
Okay. You can call it whatever you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and because they still recommend me to their people, and so I edit for other people, and so as long as it
just
keeps
so they're
giving me, sorry.
so they're clear. You're freelance.
I'm a I do freelance editing.
Okay.
So yeah, I do a lot of mom blogs and well, not a lot. I
So
do.
they
I
could have
have
watched your
a
work.
few key people that I work for now, which makes it nice. So
Right. And they could so someone out there could have watched your work and they don't know it.
yeah, probably not your audience though.
Probably not.
Unless they want to know how to get their baby to sleep through the night or how to make an Etsy business.
It's a whole new Tailosive channel.
Yeah.
How to make an Etsy business. I want to watch that.
Okay.
Right.
This has been a commercial.
I'll look you up. I introduced you to the gal. We'll talk about it.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah. So we are, as I mentioned, a very predominantly tech-focused audience, and that even the people on the Talks channel are still very techy. So I thought we should at least acknowledge your guys' tech opinions just a little bit, because that's likely what the comments are saying already.
What kind of phone do you have?
Right, and that was the first one I'd go into was, do you guys know much about the Android phones? And if you don't, why don't you ever... Are you ever curious to switch out of the iPhone? And if not, why? What, are you content with it and you're just like, I don't even want to bother? Or do you know people with Androids? Or
Oh, I know people with Androids.
And you're just not interested?
Oh, I know.
Right.
This could be really random, and this could just be the way they have their setting on their phone. So
okay.
Don't attack me if I don't know.
I think they understand.
But like their phone is on all the time. Like the clock is always on.
Always on displays is more common.
Yeah, and
What?
that
You don't like
weirds
that?
me out. Well, it just seems like that would drain your battery fast.
Yeah, I don't like it either. It doesn't drain it too much, but the last Android phone I reviewed had that, and I turned it off.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm always like.
It seems like you would watch your phone more
because you're
like
looking.
if your screen's on, you'd be looking at it. I kind of like the fact that, and I think you've described it this way before, that Apple's more of an extension of yourself, and then you can kind of forget about it when you're not.
Right, it just works.
Yeah, it
Whereas
just works.
The Androids are more about customize,
features.
like use all these other features that your iPhone can't do. And I think most of our families just kind of like, we don't need the extra stuff. Just as long as it does what we need it to and reliably. So that's...
Yep.
Because you used... How long were you using your 5S?
Oh, man.
Up till pretty recently, right?
Yeah. I just switched.
To an SE.
So probably at least 2 years.
So
and
yeah,
I had the 5 for about 2 years.
That's a pretty good life for an iPhone.
Yeah.
Making
no,
it work
I use something... I am not an upgrader.
Yeah.
I use something until it is dead.
Yeah.
And then even then it's like, no, I can still make a text.
If it still types.
If it's like in danger zone, like I think the reason I switched was because we were like in the middle of something kind of not good, and it was like, okay, if I were to be like stranded and my kid is in the back seat and we're like in the middle of a snowstorm, I need to be able to call someone, and I don't trust that this phone would be able to do it anymore. That's when I switched.
Yeah, that's when it's not reliable anymore.
I just upgraded my laptop and my last laptop was from 2008.
Oh, and we're on 18. That last laptop made it 10 years.
And it's still, we're not getting rid of it.
It still works.
It'll still be a great typing machine for my kids.
And now you've switched to it's a 2017 MacBook Pro, so a lot of the audience doesn't like those because the lack of ports. But but you seem to be okay with it.
Well, so far I haven't had to use it that much, but it's all about speed for me, especially if you're an hourly editor. You don't want to be charging your client for time of just sitting there watching your computer, render. And so
it's still exporting.
Yeah.
It'll get there. Yeah. So in the theme of tech, as Emily's going into becoming a teacher very soon, and you're now a mother, when do you believe, and this is a controversial one, we like talking about this, is when do you think technology, as in smartphone or tablet, even laptop, should be introduced to children growing up? When is that
controversial?
Yeah.
I wonder if we're gonna clash.
How many friends you want to keep?
Just
kidding. Go ahead.
The big question overall, though, is just like, at what age do you allow a child to own a phone?
Okay,
that
I
seems
feel
to be
like
the iffy one.
there's exposing them to tech and there's letting them own tech.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of things developmentally with a child that you just don't let them have control over until they're older.
Right.
Like it's with food, you're always watching what they eat, and then when they're older, you let them pack their own lunches. And with it's playing outside, you're with them until they're old. It's like they can get responsible with anything and in moderation. Anything, you know, there's privileges you earn, at least, you know, if you've got good parents and good parenting and good structure in your life.
They could just let you loose.
2 years old, he's ready for an iPad. Like,
I'm sure some people watching out there may think that. So
yeah, I will say I have noticed working with kids in schools that they intuitively know how to use a lot of technology, and they can learn very quickly how to use it, and so it's really good to help them channel that into something really constructive, and it can be awesome. If you can get kids using technology in schools, it helps them stay motivated to learn. It helps them to do way more than we've ever been able to do in school learning. They can learn literacy through it, but it's bigger than that too. They can learn technology itself, and they can learn how to become engineers and programmers and all of these cool new jobs that are going to have lots and lots of openings now and in the future. So it's kind of silly to ignore technology in schools.
Right. Oh, yeah. It's got to be there.
And as they get older, it's absolutely all right to let them own their own and learn responsibility with it. And as well, it can be a reward system. It can be a tool for keeping in touch with them in a safety way. I was 13 when I got a flip phone.
Right.
And
a Razor?
That was great. It wasn't a Razor. I never had a Razor. Oh. You had the Razor. I had some cheapo cool Verizon. I think I actually went through 7 flip phones.
Oh gosh.
And it wasn't always my fault. The first one got stolen out of a PE locker. The second one, Dad jumped into a lake with it. The third one, I lost. Okay, the one I did lose. One, like, each time it was different. It was like Henry VIII's wives just murdered phones left and right.
Switching between them.
And you know I'm a dropper, too.
You drop the 6.
I have a heavy-duty OtterBox on my phone.
You did fix it, though.
I drop them all the time.
We are the poster women for our OtterBox.
Yeah.
To answer your question, for age,
do you
when
think
they should own their own,
to when start holding the iPhone?
I think, you know what? I'm not going to judge you for whatever age you allow your own kids to have a phone. I do think, though, you need to make a rule and stick to that rule and say, not until you're this age, and then wait till that age, and then tell them the guidelines. Like, don't just hand it to them and let them run off with it. Like, maybe have security kind of things on it if you need for a while. And then,
because I notice that a lot when parents will need their kids to be quiet, they'll just hand them their phone. And that's the babysitter. And I'm like, well,
I've already done that.
Oh, I will.
Not with my kid, but with other kids. I haven't done it with my kid.
With working with kids in school, the ones that give me the most problems are often, sometimes I'll talk to kids and say, what do you like to do? And what are your favorite things to do? I like to play games on my phone. And when I'm talking them out of like a freak out or out of some kind of meltdown, I'm just like, hey, and I'll try to talk to them and like relate to them.
Yeah.
And we almost always end up talking about, I like to play games on my phone. And I like to watch YouTube, and I like to do this.
Ugh.
Sorry.
Watching YouTube.
I think, though, if you let the phone be the babysitter, it can cause problems. And can make them struggle a little bit. YouTube's awesome. Not knocking YouTube.
I know.
But
I knock YouTube
like
all the
everything,
time,
it needs to be in moderation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think I was 13 when I had one. It was all a matter of just the safety of knowing where I was. Mom and Dad needed to know where we were. But the phones were totally different then.
Yeah, they didn't do as much.
No, it was calling, and I didn't even have texting until my senior year of high school.
Oh, wow.
That I was a bit of a fish out of water for that.
Yeah.
But I survived.
Yeah.
And so now, I mean, like I always say, they just need to have a flip phone. It's kind of hard to get a hold of them now. Like a lot of places don't. You do have to dig. But like I wouldn't trust most of the 13-year-olds I knew when I was 13 to with an actual smartphone.
To have access to a browser and
yeah.
the YouTube and any game on the App Store and all that. All the money that can be spent on it.
Well, and just to let your kid be walking around with a $500 anything in their pocket. That's really a lot of responsibility. So I'm definitely not against having some form of being able to contact your kid, because we're just in that age where you do need to be able to contact, and but smartphones and that kind of technology is a bit of a it's kind of scary to think of kids with that.
That'll be tricky to see how the next generation grows up with that, because we didn't grow up with that.
Right.
Yeah.
That wasn't there.
Right.
I the most I can remember was you would always play Pod Racer on the original iMac, and I would just watch that forever.
Pro at that.
Yeah, I could
that was
never
the most
figure it
video games we probably had.
That
was just like some CD-ROM games.
Bugdom and Pod Racer.
Yeah.
That was
Carmen
all
San
we wanted.
Diego.
That was everything. Yeah, I still wish they could port that over to iOS or something. But yeah,
I know all the answers.
I personally have a recommendation as a very techie guy, more as a parent than a teacher, but this is just a future possible idea, is the Apple Watch has cellular capabilities now, so it can be away from the phone and still be connected. And personally, I think that if I ever have kids someday, what I would do is not give them a smartphone, but give them the Apple Watch connected to the smartphone's somewhere else. It's not, they don't have it. That way they're not walking around with it. They don't just have browser, YouTube, games. They can do all the things on here. The watch means that you can call them, you can see where they are, you can look at their location and even text. And they even have SOS features if something went wrong.
Yeah.
But there's no browser. You can't watch YouTube videos. There's
you
really
can
no
look
games.
At pictures, can't you?
Barely.
Yeah.
It's kind of pointless, but
it's very small. But yeah,
but
I just thought that the wearable,
right,
your own pictures or something for your watch face, and also it's an activity tracker. So what I recommend to the next generation is you can say you close your rings every day just to stay
Keep
active.
Them active.
Don't be lazy, and on top of that, you know where they are. If they're at school, at a friend's house, and they need to contact you, they can do that. But since you have the actual phone, whether it's your phone or a second phone, you can look at exactly what they're sending. So it's not like there's any secrets.
Right.
And they wouldn't have access
that's even more control than what
we didn't have
I was
that.
thinking.
But yeah, our parents weren't as in depth, but
we didn't have very interesting lives, so they really
we
didn't
really
have anything
have
to worry about.
Secret rebellion going on.
The lime green walls were my rebellion.
They don't have any friends. They can have phones.
If they text all night, who are they gonna text?
I think I mostly still just text my parents. It's probably the people I text the most.
They text, dinner's ready. Yeah, but I think the wearables is going to be the new kid thing.
Good point.
Because even at a young age, I think they could understand it.
Yeah.
And they can't do enough for it to be that much of a distraction.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can just be like, oh, the weather. But there's no there's no games, there's no YouTube, there's no you can't watch hours of content.
Right.
It's just communication, activity, and
it's subtle.
And knowing where people are.
Well, and can you do the apps that are on the watch? Is that all self-contained? Like you can add apps to the watch, or do you have to do that all from your phone? And then send it to the watch?
To add apps to the watch, you need the phone.
So they can do it.
So they can't even.
You can't go to the watch app store on here.
Yeah.
So maybe that could be like a good training for them
leading
up to getting a phone.
And and I think it's a very good productivity device, because there's almost nothing like time wasting to do on here.
Yeah.
It's all
I need a watch.
I've been promised the next time they play. The next time you play musical chairs with all of your devices, because you get a new one, you pass
when I get a new watch,
sometimes
this goes to Louise passes
Dad,
hers to Dad passes his to someone else.
I think I'm getting a broken watch.
I never have been in the circle of musical tech.
Too far away!
You're too far away.
Dang it.
But I just think that's something that would catch on for
I think that's a really
youth,
good point.
for a good parenting.
I think I've heard you I watched that.
Do they have?
I watched that Hello World episode and
Oh,
we
of
talked
course.
about kids and technology.
Because it's a discussion I think everyone needs to have and figure out.
Oh, sure.
We're not talking
Because
about it too much.
Because
I
if
mean,
we
are.
don't maintain it, it becomes a serious problem. If we have we'll get to the point where there's a child that's grown up and they're now 20 and all they've known is phone ever since they were 2.
Mm-hmm.
You've known babies that young that can get around on a phone and
Yeah, they
So-
don't need practice. It's not like
No.
it's not like, oh, we need to give them this so that they know how the real world works. And it's like,
they'll figure it
no,
out.
they will figure it out.
Right.
It is so intuitive. There is really no margin for not understanding.
Mm-hmm. And from what I know, I mean, maybe they'll find something to get distracted with on this, but it can't be much.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not
Well,
even...
you don't know how easily entertained I am.
Look at all my watch faces.
Wow.
I can choose a jellyfish and a butterfly,
That's
and maybe
a pretty
that's enough.
picture.
Maybe that's toyish enough to be interesting. but-
Another good point is there's a kid I worked with that had diabetes, and
Oh,
the
yeah.
phone tracked
That's
when
where I heard
his
it.
blood sugar was low
Sure.
or high,
That's amazing.
And these check heart rates,
and it was
and they're getting more
that
tools
was a
for
good.
that.
So I think maybe they can develop some kind of kids version that kids is
Yeah.
helpful with that genre of stuff where it like monitors kid health
Mhm.
or like things like that, so that you can parent better and teachers can have that, and that's one of those like peanut allergy and he's got a watch
Right.
for this and this
Mm-hmm.
would be great
Mhm.
great tool for classrooms and for kids.
Yeah, and there's not really like
That's
a
so
kid
cool.
mode on it right now,
Right.
but the way you could activate it is, I guess, a little pricey. Maybe that's why people wouldn't do it. Is you would have an iPhone with an Apple Watch, but you don't give them the phone. You just have an extra phone,
Mhm.
which is a little awkward. But I think
Well,
very
if you have a
easily.
hand-me-down phone.
That's true. Just use your old
upgrade
one.
Yeah, use your old one.
It's like it doesn't need to work. It just needs to basically be plugged in a desk somewhere, and then they don't have access to it. But yeah, I just think that's something that could be practical without the cons of a
That's a
phone.
good idea.
So,
That's
yeah.
a really good idea.
Yeah.
What does
Yeah,
he need us for?
It's for funsies. That's why it's just one
For
episode.
funsies. Well, I just figure I'm going to be just arguing with people about bezels the rest of my life. But you guys are actually raising the next generation.
Oh,
so
bezels.
maybe
You'll
we
be
should...
the really cool uncle.
That's true.
And
Sometimes
you'll
I
probably
wonder,
kids
because
will
you
be
live
on
pretty
some
far
days.
away, is your baby going to know me as the TV guy?
She does
And then-
watch your videos.
And
She was
then-
like this.
I'm talking about.
That's what she does in real life anyway.
And then she'll visit someday. We may have some stretch of time where I don't see you guys for a while, and then she'll meet me and be like, "That's the man on the TV." That's
She'll know you more than sometimes you know relatives that live that far away.
Oh, yeah.
That's true. If I had a relative YouTuber, I'd probably watch him too. Be like, I'm related. I never see him, but I'm related.
Yeah.
Hopefully not
So,
never.
yeah, hopefully not never.
Yeah.
Regardless, it'll be interesting to see how she grows up with that.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think we can start to wrap it up because I'm hungry. And,
Me too.
And
I have a
Always
fun
a good
question
reason.
real quick.
oh, okay.
Can we do a fun
yeah.
question?
If you guys have questions,
Can we, like a really no brain, like not, you don't have to think too hard
Mhm.
kind of question.
Okay.
What do
I'm
you
good at
think everyone's animal is? And we can all answer this. What animal are we most
Like
like?
spirit animal or most
Like
like,
each
Not
other's?
spirit animal. Like I pick you two, you pick us two, you pick us two. What are we most like?
Oh, so we don't
What
choose our
animal
own, we
do you-
choose the
Yeah.
others.
This whole time to think about it.
What animal? No, I didn't think of my answers.
Okay.
I just thought that would be a fun little
Okay,
extra
so
sibling exercise. We
I
could
do this almost with characters on The Office,
Oh.
which I do have answers for. But if it's
Sure.
animals, I would say. Okay, I don't want to be mean,
Uh-oh.
but
Uh-oh.
because I don't know how you can be. But let's see.
Gotta think a little bit.
You guys got to think too.
I'm trying.
But say, Okay, how do I...
I'm trying to think of like the first thing that pops in my head when I look at you.
I would almost describe... I don't know why, but when I think Abby, I think cat.
Oh.
Just...
It's because of our cat.
Maybe, because we have a cat. But maybe, I don't know, just something about being neat and orderly just kind of reminds me of cat being, you know,
I'll take it.
making sure they're clean and tidy, and then...
I lick myself a lot.
just, yeah. But, and then...
You do?
No.
Yeah. And then I can almost just see Emily as a different kind of cat. But
just two cats.
two cat sisters. But
we're pretty and we take care of things and
and
we
sometimes we scratch.
Sometimes we judge others.
Yeah. I sit from the perch.
We'll act really cuddly and then suddenly
right. Can be feisty.
Yeah.
Animal for Emily.
It's gonna be something funny.
This is your idea, so if it's bad, I apologize.
I don't care.
It's on you.
I'll relate no matter what it is.
Sometimes this is a couple I can make connections to. You'll make kind of like a fox, like facial expressions.
I love that.
Yeah, because you'll kind of...
Why does how that sound go?
I don't know.
Oh, ring,
Yeah,
ding,
yeah.
ding, ding, ding.
Oh,
Right.
that joke.
Emily kind of likes foxes, and they're kind of frisky.
And you're red in the red.
And red.
Little
Kind
bit
of
of red.
coloring.
So
That's the best thing you could have said.
cat and a fox. I don't know what I am.
Oh, that was really nice.
I'm probably a frog or something.
You don't get to decide what you are.
Okay, whatever.
Only others. No, that's not good.
I think Fox is good.
Yeah.
I think Fox is good. Can I take his answer?
Sure.
Yeah. You're a
It's like
fox,
being a
and you
lady.
made a fox.
I did. Oh, you probably.
did.
Some of you probably seen that video. Some of you commented on my video
Oh, yeah.
that I made.
Gravitate to fox.
I made a fox tutorial for that little Prince Fox toy. I made
Yeah.
that for her baby.
Yeah.
He's cute.
Yeah. Foxes are a fun
She
animal.
loves it.
They're unique, but
What am
they're...
I? You both have to provide me with an answer.
I feel like it has to be something that has the same kind of hair. Like
A
the hair.
lion mane.
Some sort of, yeah, maybe. Actually, a lion is pretty good.
Whatever. We'll say goodbye to that angle.
Okay.
We'll close
Yeah,
it on
I
the
think
way.
I would go with lion.
I like lion too. I was gonna say something. I was trying to think something you can think of no animals, but I was like something that's like can have a lot of energy and be really fun and can be really like woohoo, but also likes to work alone sometimes and likes to do my own thing and isn't so much of a pack runner, kind of independent and I'm a hard worker kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, is there something like a weasel that like he goes in his tree and he does his own thing, but then he also comes out and hangs out with other people? I was like, maybe the honey badger? Honey badger don't care. Honey badger doesn't care. Just does what I want.
That's right.
But
Okay.
I also like lion.
Lion's good. I pick
I'll take
lion.
it. I accept.
Because lions are brave and lions
That's
are
true.
cruel.
Yeah, and they sleep a lot.
They do sleep.
So they kind of
You
like,
do sleep a
I'm just
lot.
gonna lay here all day.
Lions really
But when I
good.
need to eat,
Watch
I'm
out.
full throttle. Yeah. To everything.
Oh, yeah. That's another
Yeah.
lions really good.
Well, cool. So thanks for coming on. Thanks for humoring me and joining the Talks channel, even if it is just one time.
Thanks
It
for
was
having
fun.
us.
Yeah.
This is
I hope it was interesting to y'all. And we'll be back with probably more recurring cast for the next episode. But this has been the Tailosive Talks episode 41 with the Tailosibs.
Tailosibs. That's my joke.
That could be our title.
Tailosibs.
And thanks for watching. Have an excellent day.
Dum dum dum.